Hello children, welcome all. Let's continue our chapter light. In last session, we have learned about different parts of human eye. We have learned our human eye consists of cornea. About cornea, we have learned cornea is a transparent covering present on the outer side of the eyes. It consists of 6 layers and tear fluid. It covers the cornea and protects the eye. Then iris, it is a dark colored muscular structure present in the center of the cornea. The iris consists of small opening called pupil through which the light enters into the eye. The iris also has colorful pigment like gray, blue, black, green, brown, etc. And the amount of light that enters the eye is controlled by the iris, or we can tell iris controls the pupil. Pupil is the opening, isn't it? Through that opening light enters. So the amount of light that enters the eye is controlled by the iris. Then we have learned lens. Lens is a sphere like liquid present inside the eye. The lens is located behind the pupil, which helps in the formation of image in the eye. Then retina. Retina is a layer located behind the lens at the back of the eye. The lens focuses the light that enters into the eye on the retina. The retina consists of different nerve cells that perform different work, different tasks. There are sensory cells that detect the light, and then they transform that information into in the form of electric impulses. Then these electric impulses are sent to the brain through the optic nerve. So two types of vision cells, sensory cells are there in the retina. They are rods and cones. Rods, they are activated in the darkness, or you can say dim light. So it is responsible for the dark vision. And cones, they are activated in the bright light, and therefore they are responsible for bright light vision. And they also sense color in an object. So cones are responsible for bright light as well as they sense color. Then we have seen that vitreous chamber, that is inner space of the eyeball, is called that a transparent vitreous chamber, which consists of gel-like substance. Because of this substance, the correct pressure is maintained in the eye, and thus it maintains the stability of the eyeball. Then we have learned blind spot. That is, there is a point in the eye located at the junction, that is where the retina and the optic nerve meet. That junction, that point where no sensory cells are present, and this point, this junction is therefore called that blind spot because it doesn't contain any sensory cells. So if sensory cells are not there, it doesn't support any vision. And so the lens focuses the light on the back of the eye, that is on the retina. Retina contains several nerve cells, and sensation is felt by the nerve cells, and nerve cells transmit that sensation to the brain in the form of electric impulses through optic nerve. Then there are two kinds of sensory cells. We have learned cones and rods, or rods and cones. Rods are sensitive to dim light and cones are sensitive to bright light, and as well as we can tell it is responsible for identifying the color in the object. So besides cone sense color, at the junction of the optic nerve, what we have learned is the junction of optic nerve and retina, there are no sensory cells present, so no vision is possible at that point. So this is what we call that as blind spot. So now that how that blind spot is present, how do we understand that? So its existence can be demonstrated by one activity. Let's have one activity to understand where blind spot is there. For that, we have to take paper, sheet of paper. On that paper, mark round as well as one cross as given here, cross and round, with the spot to the, that is left hand side I have marked cross, with that right to that cross we have marked round, and the distance between these two cross and round, it should be 6 to 8 centimeter. Now this sheet of paper, what we have marked cross and round, hold the sheet at arm length from the eye. Now close your left eye, and what you have to do is look continuously at the cross. Now move the sheet slowly towards you, keeping your eye on the cross. By seeing the cross, just you move the sheet towards your eye, towards you. And now what do we find? You can see that round mark disappear at some point. So now the same way, now what we have to do is close your right eye. Now look at the round mark. Now, and the same way, hold the paper at arm length and close your right eye and look continuously at the round mark and bring the sheet slowly towards you, keeping see that continuously the round mark. Now what happens? The cross marks disappear. So that by doing this, so that is the disappearance of cross and round mark shows that there is a point on the retina which cannot send the message to the brain when light falls on it. So this point, what we call that as blind spot. Blind spot. Got children? Now let's move our next one, that is persistence of image on the retina. The image that is formed on the retina, it will remain there, persist there only for 1/16th of a second. What do you mean by 1/16th of a second? If you divide 1 by 16, you will get 0.0625 like that. So it is less than 0.1 second. So the image that falls on the retina, it will remain there around for 1/16th of a second. Therefore, if one tries to move, so 16 still images, still means which is not moving, per second of a moving object in front of our eye, it appears, even though if, for example, still image of a moving object. For example, you can take bus. Bus is a moving object, but we have to take a still image, means which is not moving. So if you move like that, 16 still images per second, we feel as if it appears that the object is moving. So this way, this is how animation films and movies work. So they are a collection of separate pictures. They move in a sequence. However, this movement is so fast, around 24 pictures in a second, that it appears as if they are moving. So the impression of an image does not vanish immediately from the retina. So how long it will stay there? It persists there for about 1/16th of a second. So still, if still images or images of a moving object are flashed on the eye faster than this 16 per second, then the eye perceives this object as moving. So the movies that we see, actually a number of separate pictures which are moved fast in a proper sequence. So they are made to move across the eye, usually at the rate of 24 pictures per second, that is faster than 16 per second. So we see a moving picture. So persistence of an image, it exists there only for 1/16th of a second. So now to understand this, get a square piece, do one activity. We have to take one cardboard, square piece of cardboard. See here, one side of the or a side of 6 to 8 centimeter. Make two holes. See, two holes are made as shown in the figure. Now what we have to do is, we have to draw or paste a picture of cage on one side of the cardboard, and reverse side, back side of the cardboard, only one cardboard you have to take. Front side you have to draw cage, or you can stick picture of cage, and behind the cardboard you have to stick a picture or draw a picture of bird. Now what we have to do is, through the hole we have to what is that, make pass a string, isn't it, through the two holes. Now we have to twist the string, and after twisting, if you leave it freely, what happens? The card will rapidly. So this make, if you see, we can see that as if the bird is in the cage. See, you can see the figure, the boy is holding after this, while twirling, what you can see is, after twisting and you leave, the cardboard twirls. So this twirling, it makes that as if the bird is in the cage. This you can do by yourself, and you can find out. You can enjoy this activity. And nature, it has provided eyes with eyelids, isn't it? Eyelids protect from the object entering into our eye. And if you see that any light, when it is not required, if it flash on our eye, immediately eyelid shut. So eye is like a instrument, and in normal person, they can see distant object as well as near objects clearly. The minimum distance at which the eye can see the object distinctly varies with age. So it depends upon the age of a person. The most comfortable distance at which one can read with a normal eye is about 25 centimeter. Children, this is very important. So the distance, the most comfortable distance at which one can read with a normal eye without any defect is 25 centimeter. But some persons, they can see near objects clearly, but they cannot see the distant object. So this defect, what we call that as nearsightedness, or otherwise called as myopia. So what is myopia? Myopia is otherwise called as nearsightedness. So the person, they can see the object clearly, only they are near to them, but they cannot see the distant object. On the other hand, some persons, they cannot see the near objects clearly, but they can see the distant objects. And this condition, what we call that as farsightedness, or we call it as hyperopia. So this you should know. What is myopia? Is nearsightedness. That is, the person can see clearly only the near objects. They cannot see the distant objects so clearly. And what is hyperopia? Hyperopia is otherwise called as farsightedness. Persons, they cannot see the near objects clearly, but they can see the distant object. So with suitable corrective lenses, these defect of the eyes can be corrected. Usually this farsightedness comes as the age goes, that is aged people. And sometimes, particularly in old age also, the eyesight becomes foggy, because it is due to the eye lens, the lens of the eye becoming cloudy. When it happens, what the persons are said to have cataract. That condition, what we call that as cataract. I mean, there is loss of vision, and sometimes extremely severe. So it is possible to treat the effect. That is, the lens becomes opaque, foggy, isn't it? So the opaque lens is removed and new artificial lenses inserted in the eye. So modern technology has made this procedure very simpler and safer, and thus we can correct cataract condition. And now we proceed about animals, eyes of animals. Animals have eyes shaped in different ways. If, for example, if you take eyes of a crab, they are very small, but they enable the crab to look all around. So the crab sense even if the enemy approaches from their behind. And if you take next butterfly, they has large eyes. This eyes seem to be made up of 1,000 little eyes. You can see that in picture, and it can see not only in the front and the side, back as well. And next, if you see that bird, night bird, that is owl, they can see very well in the night, but not during the day. On the other hand, some day birds like kite, eagle, they can see well during the day, but not in the night. What is the reason behind it? The owl has large cornea and large pupil to allow more light in its eye. Also, it has on its retina a large number of rods and only few cones. Cones are responsible for to see the bright vision, isn't it? As they are having only few cones, they cannot see the daylight. But what is the reason? Owl can see only during night because they have large cornea and large pupil to allow more light into its eye, and also it has large number of rods and only few cones. And what about the day birds like kite and eagle? They have more cones and fewer rods. Cones are responsible for bright light. And so children, in this session we have learnt about different parts of eyes like cornea, iris, pupil, lens, retina and optic nerve. Then a normal eye can see nearby object and distant object clearly. Then persistence of image of the retina, that is the image that formed on the retina persists for 1/16th of a second. Persist means it will remain there for 1/16th of a second. And vision may decrease with age. Normal person can see distant object as well as nearby object clearly. But a person, the distance, comfortable distance, normal person can see is 25 centimeter. However, the distance can decrease with age. Sometimes people can see only far object clearly, but not the object that are nearby. This condition is called as farsightedness, otherwise called as hyperopia. And similarly, some people can see only near objects clearly, but not the far objects. This condition, what we call that as nearsightedness, or we call that as myopia. Both this condition can be corrected by using suitable lens. And sometimes with old age, the lens of the eye can become foggy or cloudy. This condition is called cataract, and with which results in a loss of vision also. But this defect can be rectified by removing old lens from the eye and inserting an artificial lens by improved technology, very simple and easier way. And then we have learnt about eyes of different animals, different shapes. Crabs, they have very small eyes, they look all around and even behind them. Butterflies have big eyes which consist of 1,000 small eyes, so that they allow them to see front, back and all everywhere. And night owls, night birds, they can have more they are able to see only during night clearly rather than daytime. This is because cornea of their eye is so large and they have large pupil which allows light to enter into the eye at night time. But they also have large number of rod cells and few cones. And kites and eagles, that is day birds, they can see very well during daytime but have decreased vision during night. This is because they have large number of cone cells and few rod cells. That's all for this session. Thank you.